Okay, Brent.
Okay, Josh.
This is Speak Now or Whatever. This is our interview with solo artist Dave Hause, formerly of Paint It Black, formerly of The Loved Ones on Fat Records. And Dave is about to release his next solo album called Dave Hause and The Mermaid, backing band that he's been playing with forever.
That's right.
And this is a little snippet of his single that he has already released from this record called Look Alive.
Chance if it's the end of the world tonight.
Man, what a powerful song that is.
It is an incredibly powerful song, and we got to tell him also that it gave us Springsteen vibes.
Yes.
Which is a big influence on him.
Yeah. And it's incredible to see in for the listeners, they'll hear in the conversation us talking about the history of Dave's music career.
Yes.
With him being in, Paint It Black, but also The Curse and then, The Loved Ones. And each of those bands bring something so different to the table.
Yes.
That it's actually really incredible to see his musical growth.
Yes, his trajectory. Yeah, and how he's grown as a songwriter, right?
Yeah.
Like playing with this band, and we get to talk to him about this, about how long he's been with this band, The Mermaid, and how he's, worked with his brother and going on these tours with all these different bands, opening for Gaslight, Anthem, doing the revival tour with Chuck Reagan.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we got to talk to him about that. And he's about to go on tour with Joey Cape from Lagwagon.
That's right.
Which is incredible. He's going to be touring Canada with Joey Cape from Lagwagon. And it was just so amazing to talk to him about his tours, his upcoming album, and all that he has planned for the future.
So this is our interview with Dave Hause.
Where are we talking to you from? Where are you located?
I'm at my house in Santa Barbara.
Santa Barbara, cool.
Mm-hmm.
You live there
How about you, Ben?
Well, we're in Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, is it hot as hell?
Actually, it's really nice.
Not
right now.
today. Not today.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Yeah. It's about 80 degrees, which is nice.
True.
Low humidity, so it's good.
Oh, great.
But
Weeks before, though, it's been 90, every single day with humidity.
Right. Yeah, man, it's no joke down there.
It's not. How long have you been in Santa Barbara?
I moved here around this time of year in 2013. So almost 12 years.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. I don't it's certainly not where I thought I would land, but I met my wife. And she's from Carpinteria, which is a town two towns away from Santa Barbara. So it's, the same general area. And it's beautiful. It's awesome. And all of her people are here. Her whole network's here. So
Fantastic.
yeah.
nice.
So here we are.
Yeah. So you're originally from Philly. Is that right?
Yeah. I did. What would that be? Hold on. Let's do a little math. 35 hard fought years.
Nice.
35 hard fought years in Philadelphia.
In Philly.
Yeah, that's where most of my adult life my entire life, most of my entire life was Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And this is my, I guess, midlife chapter. If I'm lucky to have a long life, we'll see.
Nice. So when Josh reached out to me and said that someone had reached out about interviewing you, I was curious. I was like, wait a minute, this name sounds really familiar. And then I remembered that you were a part of Paint It Black.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I was. I worked for Kid Dynamite as their T-shirt seller or guitar tech, whatever they needed at the time in like 1998 and 1999. And I became good friends with all those guys. And when Kid Dynamite dissolved, Dan Yeeman wanted to start another project where he was the singer and Dave Wagenschutz was the drummer. So I got promoted from roadie to guitar player
Nice.
and made a record called CVA with them. And then I was around for a lot of Paradise. But the Loved Ones had gotten really busy, my other band, and my mom was sick and all this stuff was going on. So I unfortunately left Paint It Black and have more or less regretted it since because they didn't do it much. You know, like it would have been a very easy band to stay in.
Mhm.
They play like once every other year. They put out very few records and they're amazing still. Like I love Dan's lyrics. I love the band. I love the guys in the band. So I regret quitting. It just seemed like too much was going on at the time, but then, you know, life sort of presents itself and it would have been easy to stay in the band.
Yeah, because that album Famine that came out a couple of years ago is fantastic. I love the way that
I love that album.
recorded.
Yes, great lyrics on that first song. I don't remember the title, but Dan sometimes still sends me the lyrics without the music, which you know, really read like beautiful poetry. He's a great lyricist. And really like a true believer in fighting you know, the most negative demons of American culture,
Yeah.
or really of any culture. But yeah, he's amazing. He's a great guy. I love him, and wish he made more music. But you know, he's busy being a doctor of psychology to teenagers. So
Oh, cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, he's got such a unique voice too. I've always appreciated Paint It Black and what you guys did with that first album. CVA came out. We were all just kind of because I grew up in the mid, you know, early 2000s hardcore scene, and that album came out, and we were all stoked. So yeah, it was good.
yeah, that's how I was about Kid Dynamite. When I was a huge Lifetime fan, and when Dan and Jay combined, like the Lifetime sound with Jay's vocal. Jay was closer to my age. Dan's a bit older. And so Jay brought in this sensibility that was really really something I understood, you know, like we were the same exact age, I think. Like we were just as into like kind of metal as we were punk. And so Jay brought this incredible songwriting thing to Kid Dynamite. And they blew me away. Like I was like, oh wow, we can do this. And then, you know, if you listen to my band that I did after I heard Kid Dynamite, it was called The Curse. It sounded so much like Kid Dynamite. Because I was really like immersed in hardcore at the time. At that point I think I was working for Sick of It All, and so I had that influence as well, like, you know, right up close. Whenever you're touring with the band, it's a lot of osmosis, their sound, their culture, all that other stuff. So yeah, Kid Dynamite did that for me. So I'm glad Paint It Black did that for you. That's rad.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it's funny too because I actually saw Kid Dynamite play. Can't remember when Kid Dynamite dissolved, but I remember they playing Furnace Fest in the early 2000s.
Maybe.
I can't remember.
Yeah, by the time they we would always tease them that because we shared a member, the Loved Ones bass player for years he had been in Kid Dynamite, Michael Cotterman, and for a while there we were teasing them like by the time, like pretty soon you'll have done more reunion shows than you did actual shows when you were a band, because they kept reuniting. Like there's a lot of festivals that wanted them to play and stuff. So yeah, somewhere along the line everybody was able to probably see them, but the time where they were making records and actually touring was pretty brief.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Nice.
You guys, the music you made in The Loved Ones for sure, I mean, is incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that was fun. I mean, again, it's funny to look back now because there was so little of that music. Like we just made 2 full lengths and a couple of
Right.
EPs and toured. But I do think when you I guess with time you can look back and be like, wow, we actually made more of a splash than it felt like we were making at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's nice to know that, like, that was my first real effort as a songwriter to connect with people, like my own lyrics, my own vocal.
Mm-hmm.
And, I kind of go back and it feels a little bit like you're looking at a picture from a yearbook. I can hear what I'm doing and what I'm not able to do yet and stuff. And I'm like, but some of the song craft is really there, especially on Keep Your Heart. That was like a
Beautiful
real
album. Yeah.
thanks. Yeah, that was like an outpouring. It was almost like a love letter to my sisters because our mama died of cancer and we were all, well, I was 26 and they were all younger. So it felt like, that sentiment of Keep Your Heart was like, hey, let's try not to lose ourselves in this kind of grief. And which is a heavy thing for a punk record to do, like I was
Sure.
coming, um, so many other punk influences that were more fun. It was like the Bouncing Souls or Green Day or, um, and this was like me trying to infuse the singer-songwriter influences that I had been exposed to, like Patty Griffin and more of the, sadder Springsteen stuff or whatever. And I was putting that into the punk prism. And I guess, I guess it sort of resonated more than I thought it was at the time, which is
Right.
cool.
It is cool. And it's amazing what you can do. I mean, I guess it just speaks to how powerful songwriting is and what you can convey. Because when you're playing something so loud, so heavy, and it sounds so great and people are getting down with it and it's so fun, and yet you could be conveying something really, well, oftentimes dark, but oftentimes just like really poignant, like straight to the heart.
Yeah, at the time I found that to be really frustrating because we were immersed in the punk scene so much. We put it out on a punk rock label that had all this culture around it. And a lot of times when I would do interviews on that record, like I was still reeling from the death of my mom and what that did to our family and stuff. And I would do interviews and they would ask about the owner of the label or they would
Sure.
ask what it was like to tour with Phil in the Blank punk band and like, how much drugs are you doing? And it was like, yeah, I don't want to talk about this stuff. This sounds so lame to me when I poured all this effort. And so at the time it was really frustrating. I mean, I think now hopefully with more humility and more grace and more understanding of like, I've had the gift of a long career now. I've made a lot of material. Like I kind of look back at that and go like, oh, you shouldn't have been so precious, man. Like just go with the interview that you got. But at the time I remember spending so much time on the lyric and being really so specific and then being frustrated at how that wasn't the focal point.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's funny you say that.
Yeah.
I think it's very admirable because you have a lot of people, and especially right now when you've got a lot of bands that are getting back together, they're kind of reliving this old days. But to see your progression in music change from what I knew you as doing with Paint It Black to what you're doing now with your solo career.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you feel? Do you feel that has maybe even changed some of the relationships that you have with people with other record labels or any of your other previous fans or anything like that? Or you think it's just everyone's all in?
Well, certainly not everybody's all in. I think at different points over the years, I've certainly lost people, but I've followed something that was true to me, which was the muse or whatever I wanted to do. But I will say that over time, even this last year, I did shows with the band. So Dave Hause and The Mermaid toured with the Bouncing Souls. And then I did a solo tour with Frank Turner. And there you have two artists who are much more dedicated to a specific fan base that I've been in and out of. And they all opened their arms and hearts to us in a really cool way. There was a lot of times I would go back to the merch and people would be like, oh my God, I haven't heard any of this stuff you've been doing since the Loved Ones. And again, like if you apply a little bit of grace to that, you're like, all right, well, these people probably have jobs and families and stuff, and they're not necessarily following every songwriter from every band that they've liked.
Yeah.
It's a lot more of like, who's coming? Let's get tickets. Let's go. Okay. And I think to kind of come back to that world at the various times that we have, touring with Bad Religion or Social Distortion or whatever, and people go, "Oh, I remember you from the Loved Ones." It's like nice to even be considered, and nice to know that the thread still kind of connects, even though I haven't made it easy for people to follow. And I think that's more of just a testament to like maybe my stubbornness or my, follow the thing you think is cool, not um and I do that to my own commercial detriment. You know what I mean? Like if I look back and think, well, if I stayed in the Loved Ones and we had that logo and that was on a bigger and bigger banner and we played bigger and bigger shows, like where would we be now? And a lot of my friends are in those kinds of bands now. They're legacy artists or
Sure.
something. And the thing that I find more compelling, I guess, is like I can put three songs at the end of a Dave Hause set list that are new, and the fans are still excited about what's new. Whereas when you click into that legacy thing, everybody knows what the last five songs are going to be.
Yeah.
Everybody has their favorite, and they usually um they're not necessarily even the best songs. They're just the most well known. And in order to sort of do that, like you have to obey an aesthetic, obey a certain understood paradigm with what the show's going to be. And I find it really compelling, and I find myself very fortunate to be able to keep putting out material where people go, "That's my favorite of all of your songs." That's like mind-blowing as a 47-year-old. And I think sometimes that's the dividend that is being paid back on the, I'm not taking the easy way here. I'm not just going to make another record of whatever I think people are going to want to hear. I want to make a record of what I think they're going to hear, what I think is cool. And then hopefully what they hear what I hear in it or something like that. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
Right.
And you've got Tom Waits or Elvis Costello or there's so many instances of people who make a lot of records and make a lot of different kinds of records. And I think that um that's a more compelling creative life to me than sticking to a certain formula or format.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
I'm definitely not rich enough to afford a house in California. So maybe they were doing something right. I don't know.
Hey man, me either.
I don't know who is.
Yeah.
No, but I mean that's incredible, and it's very inspiring for anybody who's listening to this that is attempting to write songs, make a go of it, and be an artist. Is just follow your heart. Follow exactly where you're going. Like at that moment, follow it.
Yeah, I think we have like two incredible um instances of that in pop culture, or three really, like three of the biggest artists that you can go see: Beyonce, Taylor Swift, and Bruce Springsteen.
Sure.
Always follow their muse.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's really confusing for the audience to go like, Beyonce's making a country record or Bruce Springsteen's making an acoustic record and making us put our phones away at this like stadium or arena where he's playing a harmonium. Or Taylor Swift spent years off the road just making sort of bespoke and peculiar records and doing whatever she wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's so tremendous to have three of the largest, most successful artists in history operating that way. And I would rather operate that way than go like, well, put a dagger on the t-shirt and make sure you end with the song that's got the most streams on Spotify. Like that's
Sure.
just like that's commerce over the art. And again, I'm not trying to denigrate anyone who makes their money that way or who lives that way. Maybe that's compelling in a different way, but I just have always found what's next as being the most compelling thing to chase.
Yeah. And you can't really stretch as a songwriter either, or stretch as an artist if, again, you're doing exactly what you said. It's like,
right. In fact, I mean, to be totally maybe too frank, I think I'm ready to make a really weird record that people will likely hate. And not to spite anyone, but just to like push past some of the boundaries that I've been rubbing up against as a songwriter. Like something super weird. And if it polarizes, like so be it. Like there's so many records that polarized fan bases in the history of like, popular music that people come back to and go, oh, that was really cool. That was
Yeah.
brave. That was compelling in some other way. And so I feel that kind of itch. I don't know when I'll get to that because we have a bunch of other material that we've been working on that does sound, I guess, like whatever we sound like. Um, but I would love to really continue to at least surprise. That would be nice.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're more of a kind of guy who sees it straightforward, never going back? Like, I'm never going to go back and do any type of hardcore or anything like that. Or do you kind of like waver?
No, I think that I'm fine to look back. I just don't want to stare.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I think that's a good place.
I love hardcore, but I haven't found much of the music compelling until like Idols, then you see a band like Idols who are recasting it all. Or like that's a band that really captures my passion, and they're really artistic about what they're doing. You have to respect the way that Turnstile does their thing.
I was going to say that. Yeah, for sure.
I'm not as aware of what they're doing, but when I am made aware of it, I'm like, oh, that's cool. But no, I just think like using the totality of your creative force is fun. And so part of that is me being like a screamer or a hardcore guy, like I'm from that. That's in the soup. But also I love quiet acoustic finger-picked music, or I love hip hop. I've not delved too much into that. Like on the last record, Drive It Like It's Stolen, we did get involved with more loops and some electronic sounds that we were like experimenting more with, and that was really fun and eye-opening, and some synthesizers that I wasn't aware of until we started the process. But no, I don't want to go back for nostalgia's sake or commercial sake. Those are the two things I feel like that are less compelling and maybe less pure.
Yeah.
But if there's a song that needs to be screamed, I'm happy to scream.
I love it.
Offer's always on the table to scream.
Sure.
That's what you're saying.
Again, you hear that Famine record we talked about earlier, and you're like, hell yeah, this is filled with the fury that the vocal that the lyric needs in support of it, like the way that they deliver that idea is so compelling, so furious and angry. And I think in recent political times, like, of course we need those kinds of voices. We need more and more of. So yeah, it's not so much like I'll never go back to anything. It's more, let's not go back just to sell T-shirts.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That does seem to be a growing trend right now.
Yes, it does.
It's unfortunate because it's just like the same thing.
Again, like that's just for me. In other words, like there's plenty of people out there who can bring joy to a big crowd of people who are reliving an era of their life that they miss. And they can make money doing it and have fun. Like, again, like this isn't necessarily me saying that someone else isn't cool to do that. I don't give a shit what anybody does, really, as long as they're experiencing joy and putting positive things into the world. It's just for my own, the way I want to spend my time or my creative energy. Like, I would prefer it to be just a little bit different than some of the norms that we see.
Gotcha.
I get it. Let me bring this back to Springsteen, since you mentioned Springsteen just a minute ago. We can hear that in your music. I mean, we can hear.
Thanks. That's awesome.
We certainly can. We get the vibe. And my question was going to be, how big of a influence Nebraska has been on you?
Yeah, a really big one. I'm excited about the movie. I'm a little nervous about what they'll do.
I'm nervous about that too. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if it's really good, though, it's good for all of us. Anybody who loves it has implemented parts of that inspiration into their own work. I mean, any guy with a guitar with a lot of feelings is going to have a better year if that does well in the movie theaters. But that record and he have had an enormous impact on how I think about art, how I think about songwriting, how I think about putting on shows. Like, he's one of the North Stars. I mean, he's just done it with a lot of grace and intelligence, and he's wonderful. Like in a weird way, we were laughing, my band, The Mermaid, and I, and our manager, that we're all just cosplaying Bruce Springsteen, in some weird way. Like our manager kind of wants to be John Landau, our band kind of wants to be the E Street, like we all kind of just want to be that. And it is kind of true, like for most of us,
Sure. I can't. I mean, I've read about, I've listened to, heard so many artists pinpoint that specific record and said that changed everything for me, or like that made me think about songwriting differently. That made me think about sonics in how you record things. I mean, just that vibe of that album has influenced so many people.
I also think the decision he made to put that out instead of chasing the brass ring at that time.
Yes.
He could have easily gotten to that point that he was heading for with Born in the USA earlier and become richer sooner and more popular sooner. But he did the thing where he followed the muse. And I think that probably has just as much impact on aspiring songwriters as the actual songs do. The way that they went about it was awesome. A lot riskier then than it is now.
Oh, absolutely. Extremely lo-fi, the way that he did it.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, so I guess what we can expect then is a Dave Hause and The Mermaid cover-to-cover album of Born in the USA. That could be the surprising thing you do next. So
yeah, that would be fun. I think we have our festival, Sing Us Home, and one of the things that we're toying with is like we do these after parties in a performing arts center that's attached to the grounds, and it only holds 300 people. So it's like the VIP, the people who pay more, and they have an open bar and all this stuff, but we have these specialty performances there. And one of the ideas is to play Nebraska all the way through.
No way.
At that. Yeah, which I maybe shouldn't even be saying, but that is an idea. Last year I did American Idiot because the star of American Idiot on Broadway is John Gallagher Jr., and he played our festival.
Okay.
So he and I and some of the Mermaid and stuff, we did, like, I played it from start to finish, the 75 minutes of American Idiot. It was crazy and so fun. And so now we're like, what if we kept doing stuff like that? Maybe didn't do it with records that were as long as American Idiot.
Not 75 minutes long.
Yeah.
Well, it's really tricky too. Like, that's such an expansive and amazing album. And so to try to like translate that to acoustic guitars and pianos was tricky, to keep the intensity of it. But Nebraska might be something but I like this idea of Born in the USA. I mean, that would be really fun.
That'd be electric.
Sign me up. I'll be there.
I will be there.
Yeah.
Where is this festival at? Sing Me Home. Where is this?
Yeah, Sing Us Home is in Philly.
Sing Us Home. Okay.
On this little island called Venice Island in the Schuylkill River. So it's right in our neighborhood where we grew up. Tim and I, my brother and I, grew up in Roxborough, Manayunk area, and it's in the northwestern side of the city. So it's kind of on the way out of town, but still within city limits. And it's like this little idyllic town. And you just take a little turn off the main street, and there's this island. There's a canal on one side, a river on the other, and all these trees. And then there's this performing arts center, like I said, where we do the VIP. And then we have a main stage that we set up outside. And we're about to go into our 4th year. Next year will be our 4th year next May.
That sounds exciting.
Yeah.
It's been really cool. It's been this like mind-blowing labor of love where I didn't think it was going to be this much work. And I also didn't think it was going to be this much of an emotional payoff.
Mm-hmm.
You sort of set up a festival and there's a little bit of like, all right, well, let's make money, and then all of a sudden you find yourself like, oh my God, we have our own little holiday where we all get together and friends and family are here. And by keeping it not grossly commercial, it's really special. And so we've had this wonderful outpouring of support from the community and from all these bands and stuff. Like, it's been amazing.
That's fantastic. Well, I guess we got to figure out a way to get there then.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, Birmingham to Philly,
That's, how many hours would that be?
It's not that big of a deal.
Not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
2 on a plane.
Yeah.
We can make it.
Yeah, we can do that.
We can make that happen. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about you getting involved with, okay, so first of all, you having your solo career, but when did you get involved with the backing band that you have with The Mermaid?
Little by little, Tim and I started. So my brother started coming on the road with me, and we would play as like a duo in 2014. That was after my second solo record, Devour. And then a couple years later, had to be 17, we put out a record called Bury Me in Philly, and it was time to like do a band. Like I had tinkered with different bands here and there for like record release shows and just East Coast runs, like stuff where we could sort of afford it. But it was time in 17 to like go for it. And we got Kevin Conroy, then our drummer, he's still our drummer. So Tim, Kevin, and I have been the core of The Mermaid since 2017. And then this iteration is about three years old, where we found Mark Masefield, our keyboard player, and Luke Preston, our bass player, who's also a songwriter in Nashville. So this iteration's about 3 years old, and it's been the most fun with them. They're sort of the best players and songwriters that I've ever played with. Of all the people that I've played with over the years, they are hands down the most talented group, the most able to kind of take any curveball I throw at them with grace and like and oh yeah, sure, I'll figure it out, and they'll figure out this crazy song or whatever. You're like, whoa. And so it's just that natural camaraderie and musical prowess led us to this record, and me going, man, I should just make a whole record with just them, and make it sound like what we would sound like live if when people come to see us. So that was so exciting to go into the studio up in Vancouver and do that earlier this year.
I was going to ask where you did it at, and how long did that take to make this record?
Well, we actually we carved out a lot of time. Well, for us, we carved out 2 weeks, and we ended up not needing the 2 weeks, so we made 2 records. We recorded like 22 songs, 21 songs, something like that. And so some of that, I guess, will stay in the vault. Some of that'll form. I'm not exactly sure what we're doing with all that other material yet, because now we have more songs. So yeah, TBD on that. But we ended up spending 2 weeks, and we made like 2 records.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic, man. You guys put in the work.
It's exciting, especially because so far people have been really into what we're doing on this one, and it would be interesting to play them what we did that was sort of weirder, more far out, more intense, more punk, less punk. There's some joke songs. There's all kinds of stuff we worked on, and there's all kinds of stuff that we didn't work on yet. So, it's a pretty fertile time for us, and that always feels good when you've got when you sort of have that dragon underneath you, and you can kind of corral the dragon a little bit.
Yeah. You've got an arsenal of songs that you can do anything with. It's fantastic.
It's made like making set lists. Like we're playing together this weekend. We're doing 3 Philadelphia area shows. We're doing like a free show for a summer concert series. We're doing like a filmed show where we were going to play the whole new record in a small club, and then we're doing like a political a fundraiser for a guy who's running against ICE in Bucks County. And so it's making all this material makes it really fun to make 3 different set lists for the same area. It's like it allows us a lot of options.
Yeah. Wow. When we hear the new single "Look Alive," it gives us a perspective into like what that live show could be like, because I don't think we've seen you play. We haven't seen Dave Hause and The Mermaid, cool. And so it gives us perspective already of like, oh man, this live show with this band.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I mean, we're excited. Next year is what we'll do. That's what we'll do the most of. Like we'll go out and play. Like we're going to go back into the studio to cut some more material, but we're definitely going to play a lot of Mermaid shows. We have a full European tour booked for next year. We have 3 different American runs. We have our festival. So there's a lot that we're looking to do in terms of getting that band out on the road, which is always really exciting. I love playing that way. It's so physically demanding, but pretty cathartic, pretty exciting. So
yeah. And I wondered too that we definitely wanted to pick your brain about this. I mean, the enjoyment you get from playing solo, like it's just you and an acoustic guitar, versus you and the band? Like what you get, in that performance with the audience, the connectivity there.
I guess the solo thing started more as like a risk and reward. Like you're risking a lot more because if you don't do a good job or connect in a certain way, it feels terrible. But when you do, you're like, oh my God, this is all on my shoulders. Or, so that's kind of how it started. But now I think of it more as just two things I really love that are pretty different that I get to do. I think there's a real catharsis in playing with a group and making that alchemy I just recently saw My Morning Jacket. That's why I have the shirt on.
Beautiful
And
T-shirt.
watching them make their really unique sound, incredible sound, one of the best American bands of all time, in my opinion. There's something so unique about that, and then solo, I just think it's more vulnerable. I think you feel more like you're in a gang with a band, and so it's like you against the world, but the audience is sort of like rooting for you. Is always the way I've kind of approached it. I don't know that I'm fully approaching it that way now. I think like we're more all in this together and we're just making as joyful and as big a sound as we can. Whereas solo, it's more vulnerable. You can get really quiet. A lot of times those shows are seated in listening rooms or in little tiny theaters or whatever. Over in Europe, I guess it would be more like we go into churches and like bigger
Yeah.
theaters and stuff. But um yeah, that would be some of the differences. I don't know. They're really quite different.
Yeah, but you said that too with vulnerability. I can see that. When you're on stage and it's just you, the mic, and the guitar. I mean, it's like there's a different emotive quality that happens when you're up there.
I think so. I mean, I think you're less apt to be vulnerable when you're like with your buddies.
Yes.
All your buddies are up there and it's loud and yeah, you're sort of pretending you're in Van Halen or the Clash or something. And so you have to sort of keep in mind that the vulnerability is the original germ of what's sort of prompted a lot of this. And then whereas solo, you really engage with that right away because you are vulnerable. There's, 2, 3, 4, 500 people there and just you. Or maybe me and Tim, where it's like, oof, nobody's going to get the inside joke. And really, they're not here for that. They're here to enjoy the night and have fun, but like, it can't be about just the 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of us up on the stage. It has to be about like the common good. So maybe there's something to be learned from both in each instance, like maybe more vulnerability from the band and more performance solo. I don't know. I think the solo thing does have the ability to truly connect a little bit easier because of that vulnerability, at least because of the songs that I write. I don't know. In other instances, it might not be true, but yeah, interesting.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, there's definitely a lot of artists that have done that. I mean, and the group that you hail from, essentially, I mean, you're coming from bands that were on Fat Records, and that have spawned out other solo artists. Chris Creswell, Tony Sly, Joey Cape, who you're going on tour with in Canada, right? Yeah. I can see now when I listen to their solo stuff, I'm like, okay, this is a different muscle when they do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that is true. And I think for so many of them, that's the muscle they really wanted to be flexing, but their band was really popular.
Yes.
And there were a lot of people counting on that band to make money, whether it's the members of the band or people that worked with them. And so the solo thing for a lot of those guys felt like an indulgence. And they weren't able to dedicate quite as much time to it at different points or whatever. I guess, I mean, I'm making a broad generalization about a lot of people, so which is never quite effective. But I think, again, I kind of look at it as a gift that the Loved Ones was just a blip. It was quick. And I didn't have to overcome that band as like well, more people would certainly come to see it was interesting. The second year of our festival, the Loved Ones headlined Sunday and The Mermaid on Saturday, and there was more people there for the Mermaid, which was one of
Wow.
those cool, heartening things. I mean, obviously you want everything to do well, but I was like, okay, I'm not relying on past victories
Hmm.
to buoy me through my artistic career, which was nice to sort of know.
Yeah, that has to be a great feeling.
I
It was
believe so.
nice. Yeah. I mean, it was also a great feeling to play with the band, but yeah, these are things that are internally sort of going on that you have to be aware of so that you can understand where you're at and what you're trying to do.
Hmm.
Yeah, what you're trying to convey. Yeah, but you are so you are going on tour in just a few days,
Yeah.
right?
We're going to play a couple shows, like I said, in Philly, with the band and do that. And then Tim and I fly up to, Western Canada, to Calgary and Edmonton and all that kind of jazz, to do about a week of shows with Joey Cape. So my brother Tim will open, and then Joey and I will just trade song back and forth and stories. So it'll be a really unique kind of show where you won't see that kind of thing again. Like once you get that kind of vulnerability and that kind of energy where it's like, I don't know what I'm going to play next. I'm going to see what Joey's going to do, and whatever we're talking about will hopefully inform the song choices. That I think makes for something special for the audience. And so, yeah, that'll be nice. And then we have a little time off. The record comes out, and then Mark, our keyboard player, Tim, and I all go to Europe to sort of bring the record out to that whole audience. And we're doing some festivals there too. So it's busy.
Yeah, very busy. But that's going to be so special, though. I can imagine being in the audience and getting to hear you and Joey talk, and not just share the songs, but share the stories as well. That's incredible.
Yeah, it should be cool. I mean, Joey's an old friend, and he's just done so many cool things, and he's further ahead, and his band was enormous, or is enormous, I guess.
Mhm.
They're still playing to capacity crowds all over the world. Um, and he just has that like really California perspective, and that still is foreign to me, even though I've been here for over a decade. Like, and so it's always good to kind of immerse yourself with something different, like we come from two totally different perspectives and walks of life and so forth. Um, but it's been too long. Like we've played together many, many years ago, but it's been like years. And so I'm looking
Mhm.
forward to just being in the van with him and like, getting coffee in the morning and then having that translate into the show. It should be fun.
Yeah, I think that will be. And it reminds us of a tour that you did, but we didn't get to see, the Revival tour that you did with
Oh
Chuck.
yeah.
So one of my favorite memories here in Birmingham is seeing the Revival tour. And at that time, it was before you got involved, but this was like the first one.
Yeah.
I think it was the
Okay.
very first one. So it was Chuck, Laura Jane, Tim Berry, and Ben Nichols.
Yeah, that was the 2008 one. Yeah.
See?
2008.
08. We were
That's
trying to
what it was.
remember the year. Thank you for reminding us about that. And
So yeah, I got invited to that one, and the Loved Ones had put out our second record in 2008, and we had been asked to open for the Hold Steady. We had all of our record release stuff. We went out with Gaslight Anthem, actually right before they broke.
mhm.
And so '08 was really busy for the Loved Ones, and I think I wasn't quite in my head like a solo singer-songwriter enough to warrant going on like I was like, oh, I don't know, I'm too shy. And I went to see the Philadelphia show of the Revival tour and was so blown away by it. And Chuck was like, "Man, we wish you were here." Or maybe I played a song with them at the
Yeah.
Philly one. I don't remember. But I was so transfixed by it and kicked myself. I was like, "Why did I not do this?" And then went the next night. I drove to Asbury Park to see it again, and that was the night Frank Turner joined. And that was another great night, and it was totally
Yeah.
different from the Philly one. And I just remember going, I'm never saying no to Chuck again. And so then, it ended up getting to do it the next year, I guess. I did some dates on the East Coast, and then the big one I was on was in 2011. I went to Europe, and the lineup was Chuck Reagan, Dan Andriano, Dave Hause, Brian Fallon. And that one was like maybe the biggest one or something. I'm not exactly sure. It was the biggest one in Europe that he had done. And that was amazing. That was right when Resolutions, my first record, came
Yeah.
out. And so it gave me a foothold there that I had no idea was coming and was like, holy mackerel. And, I was able to follow that tour up with like opening for Alkaline Trio and Gaslight and all these other bands, and really kind of have been able to grow in Europe ever since. It's looking back, like, wow, it's kind of like the Loved Ones thing I was saying earlier. Like, oh, wow, that was a bigger deal than I thought it was at the time.
Yeah, I thought the Revival Tour was definitely a big deal. I mean, yeah, forever, but it offered that thing that you're talking about, with you and Joey and having that camaraderie on stage and switching stories and whatnot. We could watch all these guys whose songs we love, but share that camaraderie on stage and then like jump on each other's songs and then joke with one another, and it being this one big event. It was really, really special.
Yeah, the beating heart of that is Chuck Reagan. That was his brainchild. Everything about, like, every specific thing about that tour you saw came from him. And at different points, I remember him saying like, hey, I'm doing this thing with Hot Water. We want the Revival Tour to keep going. Do you want to be like the quarterback or whatever? And for different runs. And I just remember being honored by that, but also like terrified, because there's one Chuck Reagan, and he's, his benevolence and passion and all the things that make him so special are also what made that tour special. And so, yeah, people always ask, like, oh, is it coming back, or can you put one on or whatever? And our Friday night at our festival is a songwriter round. It's not the Revival Tour, because it's more of the Nashville round. It's not fully collaborative, somewhat, but it's a little bit of that, and it's a little bit of like your standard songwriting round, where like song, and stories are more involved in our thing, and sometimes you're seated. It's not as like maybe boisterous, I guess, as the Revival Tour was. But yeah, I'm always like, hey, ask Chuck. I don't know. Like I got invited to do it and was like just as excited as everyone who came to buy a ticket to be there. And so when people ask, like, when are you going to do a Revival Tour? It's like, well, I didn't do it. I just was a part of it, just like the fans, I just got to sing. So who knows? I mean, I hope he brings it back in some capacity, and I hope if he does, I can do it or get to go see it or something. It was wonderful. It was lightning in a bottle.
For sure. And we keep trying to talk to Chuck. So whenever we get to talk to Chuck, that is the first question. And we're going to say, Dave told us to ask you.
No. If you talk to him, tell him Dave told us he thinks you're the greatest.
Okay.
That's all. You can ask him about the Revival Tour.
We will.
If I didn't get asked, I would just buy a ticket and go.
Sure,
Like, that's how awesome that show was. Again, it was like formative in '08 when I went to it, just like when you did. I was just like, holy mackerel, look what they're doing. And it was so like tight and like it was full of people, but in a tight little venue, and like, whoa. So yeah, it was something special. I mean, I also do think that things have their place in time, and maybe repeating something like that is trying to catch like the magic of an old relationship or something. I don't know. It could have that impact. I'm not sure how it would go over. But again, if Chuck's at the center of it, it'll be great. Like he's the reason that thing worked the way it did, in my opinion.
Yeah. But and to go back to our previous point, when we hear the Revival Tour and we'd see each one of these songwriters right up there playing these songs that we normally would hear loud and normally be moshing to or crowd surfing to or whatever, and have it stripped down to the bare bones in front of a crowd with an acoustic guitar, that does produce another response. And it like really makes you attuned to what the lyrics are, makes you attuned to like, what am I focusing on right now too?
I think you're right. And it was funny. I just was able to open a couple shows recently for Gaslight Anthem, and I have a new record coming out, obviously.
Yeah.
And for them. And Brian said the same thing. He was like, man, these songs are good. Do you have versions where it's just you and a guitar?
Uh-huh.
I was like, no, we spent all this time and money to make those versions I just played for you. And he was like, no, I love them, but I also want to hear them that way. And I think like, if that's true for him, it's probably true for people who are not songwriters. Like maybe they want to hear them both ways, and hopefully you make the song sturdy enough or compelling enough or exciting enough or vulnerable enough that people want to hear them loud or quiet.
Yeah, absolutely. So aside from all this, like you're in Santa Barbara and, still playing, still making music. What's family life like? How do you balance all that stuff out?
I'm not sure I am balancing it, but I have a wife and I have 6-year-old twin boys who are in first grade. And I think as excited as I can get about going out and doing compelling work that I love to do, I am reticent about leaving them
Yeah.
ever. I had the whole summer off, which was really awesome. Like the boys became enamored with skateboarding to the degree to which it was like they're so all in and they're doing things that are like terrifying. They're dropping in on bowls and pools and ramps, and I mean they're crazy about it. In fact, this bigger skater who was really good at the skate park yesterday was like, "Yo, your boys go hard."
All right.
And which is, you're proud on one level, but you're also like, don't break anything, please.
Please don't break anything.
But it's now I'm going back to work and I'm gonna miss the day to day, which is where so much of like the magic happens. Like your sort of vulnerable, intimate conversations about where they're at in life, and those are much harder to connect with kids, with anyone, but with kids in particular when you're on FaceTime.
Yeah.
So I hate that part of it, of this job. And I didn't bargain on it. I didn't think I would ever have these twin boys like steal my entire heart. But I think that so far, if there's any approach, it would just be to try to stay focused on the thing that's right there. And if that thing is skateboarding with my kids, like be there. And then if it's time to like pivot and do this podcast, like be focused on what we're talking about.
Right.
And don't divide your energy worrying about, our skate park visit later. We'll go do that after school, and then we'll go to the pool. We'll try to. I'm kind of okay with jamming the day full. I think part of that comes from like having a mom that died young. Like I'm like, well, I don't know how much time I have ever, and so let's try to do not all of it, but as much as we can, and as much as we can in a way that's fulfilling and compelling and inspiring, so and that does take some focus, especially the older you get and the more you're on social media.
Yeah, 100%. I was going to say one of my favorite. I'm a father as well. I've got a 16-year-old and an 11-year-old, and
nice.
My son goes to our local skate park here, and having that memory of holding his hand so that he could drop into the bowl. It's like, I hope he remembers this. I hope he remembers he didn't have to jump in there blind. I was holding his hand to make sure he dropped into the bowl.
Yeah, it's interesting when you go from skateboarding for me was like an illegal activity, like in the 80s and 90s, it was like so counterculture. And now there's like skaters that are bigger that are like getting stoned and have tattoos and look like real skaters, they're adults. And I'm like the dad in the middle of them going like, okay, like move your foot back on the bolts and like, okay. And I don't know if it annoys the real skaters, and definitely don't give a shit. Like I'm just like
Who cares?
And if I'm not cool, like that's totally fine. Yeah. I'm going to film them. I'm going to give them water. I'm going to give them support, and be as into skating as I would be baseball or drama or, any of the other things that the kid can get into, because it really just is about their passion. And,
it is.
If you can stoke that fire over time, you can have a much more compelling life than maybe a lot of us settle for, as adults.
Yeah. Well, you are cool already if you're a dad that's involved.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think that
man.
caring is cool. and everything that I've read about attachment and being attuned to each other, like I want to, is give as much of that to my kids as I can, and give them a fighting chance to be as human as they can in an increasingly inhuman world.
Awesome.
It's incredible.
Well, we love the new single, Look Alive.
Yep.
And we are very excited about Dave Hause and The Mermaid album coming out September 26th. correct?
That's right. Dave Hause and The Mermaid comes out September 26th, wherever you can hear music. And you can buy a copy from us at our website, which is davehause.com.
Right.
And that would be the best way to support us. Yeah, but really, like if you don't have a vinyl record player, like play it on Spotify. Like I have my reservations about what Spotify is in terms of like what it does to artists and stuff. But I also live in the real world, and I understand that it's part of music discovery and a way for people to interface with music. And we can just take it that far and listen there if it's easy. Like I'm not. I'll let Taylor Swift and Beyonce fight that fight for us because they've got leverage.
Second time you've brought them up in this interview.
Love it.
I love them both. I mean, it's just great to see an example of what we're trying to do done at the highest level, at the highest level of artistry, but then also at the highest level of commercial viability. Like that's heartening.
I get you. Yeah. Well, here's an interesting point. We won't digress on this long, but I respect Taylor Swift. My daughter loves Taylor Swift and listens to a lot of her stuff, and she listens to a lot of different kind of music, but Taylor Swift is crazy prolific. And I'm shocked every time I hear a new record is coming out of hers. I'm like, she just did this. She just released a double album. She just released one last year. And then I say the same thing about people like Ryan Adams, who can release 5, like in one fell swoop. He'll release 5 records, and then he's got like 10 in the can that no one's ever heard yet. I'm like, they're just artists putting things out into the world. That's what they like to do, is just generate the content and get it out as quickly as possible.
I think that if you're a painter, you paint.
Right.
If you're a songwriter, you write songs. I think we're in a unique position because we can monetize that by going out and performing those for people. And so that entertainment part of it can conflate what it is our original intention is. But I think in the case of Taylor, like she clearly just loves making songs.
Right.
She makes so fucking many of them. Like
most certainly does.
There's no you can, if you don't like her or whatever, or have a critique of her, you cannot call her intentions into question because more than wanting to be famous or in the public eye or any of those other things, she likes making up songs, and there's something that's what I like to do. And I think she likes to do it even more than I do because she does it so much more. So I think that again, that's a wonderful way to spend your time.
It is
creating stuff. It keeps you human. It keeps you humble. It keeps you interested. It keeps you engaged in the world. And I think no matter if you turn those songs into money or you just sing them in your house, it's a worthy endeavor to be creative in any way. Because again, it's like you're using your energy to do something that you find compelling instead of what someone else can grind into profit.
Yeah. And she's a great collaborator too. I mean, she collaborates with so many different people.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah. So with that said, we're going to let you go, Dave, and we're going to go listen to Taylor Swift.
Yep.
Yeah. After you listen to Dave Hause.
That's right.
Because I need it more than she does. But yeah, that would be a great place to end. Thanks so much for having me on here.
Yeah,
it's
man.
been lovely.
Yeah, this has been incredible and super
for
inspiring.
The record.
Yeah, this has been inspiring and in so many different ways. And I just want to say personally, thank you for doing this.
Oh, thank you guys. Right on. Thanks
Absolutely.
for letting me chatter and for following the music all these years. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That level of.
We got to figure out a way to get to your festival.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
We got to figure that out somehow.
American Airlines. That's all it's going to take.
That's it.
Email our manager. We'll get you in and book a flight, and you're there.
Bingo. But the caveat is we need to be in VIP. And we need to
pay for that.
This whole thing was my idea. Playing album play.
Well, it depends on, hey man, it depends on what the reach of Speak Now or whatever is. I don't know. Maybe you guys have 1,000,001 listeners, and
we'll find out.
Yeah,
I don't know. That is for Alex to determine. But, I would love to see you guys there. It'd be tremendous.
Born in the USA, cover to cover.
Got it. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
All right, fellas. Thanks again. See ya.
Later.
We'd like to take the time to thank Workplay here in Birmingham, Alabama, for allowing us to record and edit our episodes in their dedicated podcast studio. If you or someone else you know is interested in starting a podcast without the hassle of purchasing equipment, please reach out to Workplay at workplay.com.